Okay, since Phyllis is not here, I will read Emmett Fox. Okay, Emmett Fox for 12 November, and the title is Let God. And he writes, people often say, I try to do so and so, but I fail. The explanation for their failure is contained within the words themselves. You should never try. You should let God. When you try to do things, you are working from the outside. When you let God do them through you, you are working from the inside, and success must come. If you will reread the creation chapter in the Bible, you will notice that God creates by letting. God said, let, at every act of creation, and it was done. Now, God creates by means of you if you will let him, but you must let. Someone said, let go and let God, and this is a wonderful recipe for overcoming fear or getting out of a tight place. In any case, the rule for creation is always to let. And then a quote from Genesis, is anything too hard for the Lord? So we are lucky enough tonight that Lori Kay is going to talk. And Lori Kay, what is the topic of your talk?
Making healing easier.
Tell us all about it.
I will tell you all about it. There's a show on Netflix right now called The Most Important Light is the Light We Cannot See. I highly recommend that you watch it. It is so profound. And that concept alone, the most important light is the light we cannot see, really gives rise to this talk because when it comes to healing, we're trying to heal from all kinds of things. The problem is that we don't approach healing from the right standpoint. And that's why it gets so darn difficult. We stand usually at the place that most lacks our power. We stand at our physicality, our will. We believe that we don't have the power to heal. We believe that we are at the mercy of those illnesses and life situations that come to us, that they are mercurial and capricious, coming out of the blue, and we don't understand why something happens at the time that it happens. And we're very uncomfortable with that. We're so uncomfortable with not knowing why. So we make up reasons that even when they're spiritual are outside of us. God wanted me to learn this. Oh, I needed to learn patience. That's why it happened. Oh, I asked for a growth lesson and then this illness came. Now, whether or not you find these reasons reasonable, the fact is that there's something missing in what we're generally doing. It's a transformational thing. And what it is that you are not demanding that your beliefs be tested by you. You're not demanding that your beliefs hold your weight. And that if they don't, you might have to shift a belief or include something different in it. So when you're being patient, waiting for God's will or something, you are waiting for something outside of yourself and doing so without including your own power, which you don't yet know. So I'll be patient until my good shows up. It does not mean that you should be passively patient. There is something to be done within ourselves that invites the good in. And then you have to be honestly and emotionally expectant at the level of what it is that you are wanting to feel. Now, I've been testing beliefs for over 30 years, and it has ticked a lot of people off. Because when I ask questions like, what is faith, or what is God, or what do you mean, Amma, when that real faith is having faith in one's own self? In me? What? Well, when I do that, I challenge their comfort. But most of all, I've challenged my own. Now, I was lucky. My childhood held fear and eventual death, that of my most beloved mother. And I ended up depressed, lost, frightened of life itself. Why would I call that lucky? Because when Amma came along and I experienced the brightest, most spiritually aligned me, as a result of being in her presence and recognizing this God aligned figure as me, and me as her, it set me on a journey of questioning. How could there be this much pain and light in the same place? And why does the pain seem to be winning? I wanted to heal from my depression. I wanted to heal from the grief of losing the only person in the world who was my grounding in my heart. I wanted to be the person, become the person, the light-filled, joyous woman I had come here to be. I had lost that person that I was. I wanted to find my way to her, and I had no clue how. Now, I held Amma as a way for a long time, but it wasn't really working. Amma clearly said multiple times that she's the one person you can attach to without fear of losing you, submerging themselves in a dogmatic approach to this great being. But more than that, I noticed that I was not feeling uplifted just by knowing she was in my life. I was still depressed. I was still having a life that was one of suffering and unhappiness. So that brought the question, if Amma was God, then what good was God to me in my daily life? People were not comfortable with that question, so I didn't ask them, but I asked me. Was I really going to wait until I died to get my reward at the end? No. I got lucky again. I fell into a massive depression, which saw me spend 4 days on the floor of my living room, lying there wishing I could either be gone or that someone would rescue me. And on the 4th day, I realized that my prayers were not helping and that no one would be coming to rescue me, not even Amma. So with every reluctance and resentment in the world, I placed my palms on the floor and pushed myself up. I chose to go on living, even if it felt horrible. And though I didn't know it then, this was the very first time that I realized, experienced my personal agency in my life. Some might call it adulthood, but I don't. I call it consciousness arising, the first step in coming to an eventual realization of my true being amidst a human so-called reality. So I went on. I kept trying. I tried everything I could. I tried, you name it. If it's in the personal growth world, the spiritual growth world, I feel like I tried it. But, and I still saw Amma, but I never felt freed. I never felt safe. I never felt secure in my life, no matter how many people loved me, no matter how many people told me how remarkable I am, no matter how many reassurances came my way. But I got lucky a third time. I went broke and homeless. This actually brought me home here to Ohio, where I could once again think and breathe. I could get beyond survival enough to reflect. People helped me. I got back up on my feet and I learned that I was resilient as hell, but I still wasn't healed. Something was percolating through, though, at a deeper level now. It was a realization that came to me just a few weeks after I got back to Ohio 9 years ago, that all of the rules I'd lived by, that I'd been told were right, whether they were spiritual or social or human or whatever, they hadn't done a thing for me. They'd done nothing for my quality of life. I had followed all of the rules the best way I could, and all it had done for me was nothing. I'd failed over and over again to find the life and to build the life that I had tried to find and build. But it was when I landed in Cincinnati that my old stubborn self came to understand that quality of life is everything, and that the rules and trying to figure them out here and apply them here didn't work. That when my trying felt like I was pushing against myself internally and admonishing myself like a bad teacher who judges you ill for absolutely everything, it was the wrong direction. Well, that gives rise to the question, what is the right direction? So at that point, I said, well, it is to stop pushing, to stop efforting. Maybe then I can heal. I didn't know how to do it, but certainly what I'd been doing was not working. Then, for the 4th time and the best time, I got very painfully lucky. I came to the end of all of my answers. I had one left, but it didn't save me because I hadn't yet applied it. I just understood it. I came to the end of the answers for drugs, for depression, going to the ER for rescue, friends being able to lift me, I had a job that threw me into panic when it reduced my income as a way of, trying to get me to try harder. I'd been removed from the antidepressants successfully by then for 5 months, which was in itself a miracle for these particular meds. But with my security threatened by the reduced income, which was something like $15 to begin with, I fell and I kept falling. I went to the hospital, to the ER twice. I got back onto the meds, and now there was nothing left to do but wait for the meds to kick in. But I didn't know when they would. And I was still falling. So it was the middle of the night, 2:30 a.m., July 2022. I was alone in my apartment for 4 weeks of depression and 2 solid weeks of 24/7 panic attack that would not lift. I'd been listening to Abraham Hicks on YouTube constantly, hoping that something of that wisdom would lift me, percolate through the haze of my depression, and stop the pain. It had not. And at 2:30 that morning, I could sense the depression and hopelessness rising like a tsunami to take me under, to drag me down and keep me down. And this time, after 30 plus years of working through this kind of stuff over and over and over and over again, I did something I'd never done. I picked up the journal near me and I started to listen here and started to write to there, pinging as if I were a submarine, pinging the shore. I picked up a journal. I started to write higher emotional truth in tiny increments. I'd heard Abraham speak their rampages for forever, for decades, rampages of appreciation, rampages of physical health, rampages of abundance. And I'd always admired it. And I had noticed, because I'm always asking why and how something works, that those rampages always lifted all of the listeners because they took the listeners on little steps up the emotional scale through the use of stark but self-supportive emotional honesty, humility, the focus on feeling and sensing. Did it make me feel a little light, or did it make me feel hideous? Or even a little hideous. So I thought, maybe I can do it. And I picked up the journal and I started writing because I was in that place where I had no other answers. So I was ready to try anything. And so I started writing. I wrote, I'm in trouble and I can't bear it anymore. But Abraham says, because I could hear Abraham still talking, Abraham says to go general when we don't know how to get ourselves out of pain. So here's what I know as a general thing. There is a vortex of goodness. Even just writing that and feeling that brings a tiny bit of light to my chest. So I think that might be what Abraham means about feeling a tiny bit better. So let me say also that the vortex is something that I knew when I was a kid. I knew it. And I knew that I was here to be it and pull from it and give back to it. And then I lost my focus. But Abraham does say that this stuff is cumulative, this positivity, this one step up the emotional scale. And writing that, it does feel a little bit of light. It does feel a little better. So I kept writing like this, checking in every time I wrote something. Is this truth for me? Does it lift even by a grain of sand worth? And after 10 minutes of writing, just 10 minutes of writing, I was no longer in danger. I no longer needed to go to the hospital. I no longer wished that I were gone. And after a week or a little more of writing constantly, I was no longer depressed. And when I realized what had just happened, I was stunned. I sat there in my bed. My eyes were blindly focused on the wall opposite me. And I pondered the indisputable fact that I had changed my depression level, not my meds, not distractions, me. I had become the creator, the shifter of the quality of my life. Not through physical effort, but through shifting my emotional set point. And the one thing that I had discovered, but hadn't applied to my approach to life, turned out to be not only true, but applicable. And that one thing was energy. It is energy that makes anything happen or not happen. The person without a moral compass ends up rich because they have nothing that stops that from coming in. And God is always doing this, always raining grace. God doesn't choose people. God just rains godness. And the people who have all of this compassion and light in the world, they have things in their mind and ways that they resonate that stop them from getting the goodness, the abundance, the whatever it is they need. So knowing that energy is the thing, because it was the only thing that was clean as a truth. Why would this person get something and this person not? It could not be based on God smiling on this person and pooping on this person. It's just not the God I know. So how do we apply that? How do we do that without going back into the idea of I have to beat up on myself? I have to change things by working really hard, by applying my will and trying to be a better person. That was the question. And the answer is our emotions. Now, that's the simple answer, but it's the truth. There are elements in there, but it's the truth. If you can be honest with where you are and focus on who you are, what you're feeling, what's happening inside, what you're sensing, as you lift yourself a little bit by a little bit with these truths that you have decided are truths, and with truths that you can feel that ping back. Ah, that lifted me a little. Oh, that brought in a little bit of light. Ooh, that brought in a lot of light. Then you're changing your core energy. Then you're changing what is attracted. Now I'd become the co-creator that I always spoke of, but never realized in my own life experience before. I could now shift my experience and start attracting other things. And I knew how. And I'd healed myself of depression. And if you don't think that's extraordinary, you haven't been depressed or hopeless for some reason. So what I do now, I continue to expand that knowing, to try to grow it, because there are still parts of me that are not yet in alignment. I went and got a knee replacement because I couldn't find my way to that alignment for that. But the other night I had insomnia, laid there for a half hour feeling sorry for myself, and then said, Lori, what are you doing? And I said, oh yeah, I can use my 1% solution. So the question is, what are you feeling, Lori? And I said, I don't feel safe. Now that's kind of weird, right? Because I'm in my apartment alone, everything's cool and groovy, but I don't argue. That's what I feel. So I said, what would you rather feel? And you take a breath and you wait to hear what it is, because it's not necessarily its polar opposite. And I said to myself, I want to feel taken care of. What makes you feel taken care of? And I imagined lying in the arms of a lover, my head on his shoulder, our arms and legs wrapped around each other, just calm and peaceful together, and being aware of the magic of that kind of moment where you can both let go because you know you have each other's back. What I am trying to explain is that there are two ways that we can look at our healing. We can look at it as we mostly do until we start knowing how not to and start working on that. We can mostly look at it from the victim stance, where I don't know why this is happening. I don't understand this. It couldn't possibly be that I wanted to have this happen. And you probably didn't want it to, but our energy creates what happens in our lives. That doesn't exempt God, but we have a much bigger role than we usually know. So we can either do the victim thing where we feel like we're at the mercy and we don't understand how to make changes other than sort of punishing ourselves or trying really, really hard and sort of not getting really where we want to get to, or we can get to a mastery stance. So I want to give you just a little bit more information before we go to talking about this, but when we allow the energy to do the heavy lifting, that's when healing gets easier. Not only the healing itself, but the time spent as we sort of noodle around with the alignment to try to figure it out. This idea that we are separate from that which is what causes so much of our suffering. It causes so much of our self-doubt. It causes so much of our frustration and a lot of craziness when it comes to spirituality. Oh, I'm praying, I'm praying, I'm praying. Yes, but you're praying for something to come to you that's already here. And if you claimed it instead, you have made that paradigm shift into, I claim it, I claim it, I claim it, I align with it vibrationally, and it comes in. That's a tough go. But if that's the toughest thing you have to do, think how much physical, mental, emotional healing you don't have to do. It's truly, truly extraordinary. So letting the energy do the heavy lifting. And the energy is shifting our emotional set point. And I want to share something with you. So this is a helpful chart for understanding the rising from the victim helpless place to the mastery, I have power in this game place. Okay, so when we come in at birth, we either find that we have the attachment that we need or we don't. We find that we're allowed to be exactly who we are and grow that way, or we don't. Most of us don't. It's just the way that it is. It's just the fact that we all came from unhealed people who weren't doing a lot of the work that we're interested in and that we're doing. And so we end up this way. And what it does is it makes us lose our sense of self. As a result, we adapt to the physical and social rules, the physical and social reality. And because that is outside, we see it as outside of our bailiwick, we expect pain. We expect that things are going to hurt us, that we're going to end up in a bad place. We're just going to have to figure out a good way to deal with it. And this leads to the victimhood, this stance of I don't know, what is that expression? I have no skin in the game. So we go to self-protection, we avoid certain kinds of risk, and we often identify numbness or lack of discomfort as joy. So we are taught that the world is a dangerous place, that there's nothing we can do about it but learn how best to deal with it. And we go to self-protection and to risk avoidance, and we settle a lot for, oh my God, thank God the pain is gone, now I'm good. But for us, we have felt something more than that. So that's what drives us, I think. We're driven by there's more. I know there's more. And I kept calling myself lucky, even though those periods that I spoke of were unbelievably painful. But the easiest way to do this is two ways. You either meditate, well, maybe three ways. Find something like Abraham Hicks or something that is something completely different that teaches you how to shift your energies at will. Or you have a complete breakdown, and like I did, and have nothing left and go, I'll try anything. And what that does is it gives you a realization of yourself as the agent of your life, an experience that you can't deny. You get to this place of like, oh my God, I actually have impact. What I feel actually causes better or worse. And I can choose. So you realize all this time you've been misidentifying. Oh, geez, I thought that I was this little ant-like creature in all of these different ways, and it's not true. And as you go on, you start to observe some internal changes. You're like, you know what? I'm still in the same bad situation financially or emotionally or whatever. But you go, there's change. I can feel the change. I feel better. I feel a little bit stronger. And you start exploring that new area of reality. It's the internal reality. It's the light, the most important light that we cannot see. And you start to create by allowing, just like Brian said at the top of this, allowing the divine to come through and make your dreams come true. You just have to keep your hands off the how, what Mike Dooley calls the cursed house. And then you do what I call choosing to live right side up. You start to plant your feet in the knowing that it's about you, that it's about your emotion, your energy, your desires, and it's about you living like a little joyous kid saying, I want that. And then you sit back and go, I can't wait to see how that comes. That's hard to do when you've got physical pain, as I know currently. But what I do instead of pushing against the pain is imagine myself really strong and healthy and marvelous. And today I didn't have the pain when I went walking. So at the end of it all, you come out of it, not some little leering star, like, I'm so blissful, but you come out of it knowing that you're flexible, resilient, joyous. You can choose your healing, and you have now a constant thing of spiritual connection, which takes away any of that lack of connection that you had at birth. It's a different way of looking at things. It is profoundly different. And that is, I believe, why it's called the paradigm shift.
Any comments? Questions? Lori R. And then we'll come to Liz.
Lori, thank you so very much. I am exactly where you're talking tonight. And I know my healing is where I can almost grab it and bring it to me. And all of the things that you spoke about tonight, I've gone through in stages. So I want people to know what Lori's talking about is reality. And I know there are others that are watching that have gone through the same thing. But I realize that as my vibration raises and as I understand that the way I talk, the way that I think affects what I draw into my life. I have learned to not keep complaining about when I'm sick, when I have chronic pain, when I have chronic migraines. I find other ways to look at it and think about it where I can see that paradigm shift where I'm no longer attracting that to me. I'm attracting the health towards me and the goodness towards me. And I can tell the vibration is raising and the healing is changing, even that I offer others. So I guess what I'm saying is don't lose hope. We all go through all these things in stages when we're ready to learn each pattern. And we all can have the same outcome at the end, and that is true healing. But some of it's a longer journey than others. It all depends on what you're wanting in life, what you have made yourself available to be and give to others as to how long I think your journey is going to last. So I hope that means something to somebody.
Thank you. Liz, and then it looks like Mark has something. But Liz is next.
Lori, I just wanted to say thank you. I think that your talk was very encouraging.
Yes.
For any part of life that we're in. And it seems to me after all these years that I go in and out of a lot of those things. So anyway, it was very encouraging and I appreciate it very much.
I'm so glad, Liz. Thanks for saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. Okay, Mark, I believe you want something? Want to say something?
Yeah, I'm outside right now, but thanks for sharing the talk, first of all, Lori.
Mhm.
And I hear the thing about not complaining about things, but I mean, at the same time, I want to address certain issues. Issues, I'll put it in quotes, kind of softens it because some of them really aren't. But um, dream life has just been, seems like a complete nightmare. And I seem to keep on, I don't want to dwell on it, but just real quick, um, having dreams about people that have basically just rejected me, but then I feel like I'm supposed to reach out to them, and then they don't reach back out, and then it just kind of becomes a cycle of rejection in a way, which I guess, you could, I don't want to go there, but it could really go to, oh, I'm rejecting my own self somehow, so I'm type of thing. But it's just like, at some point, this has got to stop. And I don't want to focus on that anymore, but figure out what the solution is, because I'm kind of at my wits' end about it. But anyways, thank you again for the talk about the remaining hopeful.
Well, it's not just remaining hopeful.
That's true.
It's when you're tangled up, there's still a predominant emotion, and when you feel the emotion, you can name it, and then you can find out what you would rather be feeling, and and take a few minutes to practice feeling it as if it were already real. It's more powerful than we can imagine.
Okay.
Mark, what you might do is at an off time arrange to have a conversation with Liz, and perhaps she can serve as a spiritual guide for your next steps.
That sounds wonderful.
Lori K.
Were you saying Liz?
No, I mean Lori K.
You mean Lori? Okay.
He meant me.
And she who
Okay.
was wise and talked tonight. So, is it okay, Lori K., if I give him your phone number?
He already has it.
Oh, okay, then we're good. Okay, now Bob V, and then Ellie.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you so very much for that beautiful talk. And I hope to see it in book form pretty soon.
Oh,
That would help so many millions of people.
Yes, it would.
thank you guys, and thank you, Bob. That's so sweet of you.
Well, it might not be sweet. He might be speaking truth to you.
Oh, he is. And Karen started it long before he did. So I've got two of you going, write the book. Like, all right.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Ellie, you're next.
Lori, thank you for your talk. It put a lot of things in perspective that I'm also going through. I saw something the other day, and then I recently posted it. Jewish thought from a rabbi, but the saying is the exodus from Egypt occurs in every human being, in every era, in every year, in every day. And changing thought, changing perspective. But when you were explaining everything, you were explaining the phrase paradigm shift really stood out. I was talking to Lori R the other day about this journey that I'm on, and we were speaking about perspectives, and she had told me, look for the positive and not only the negative. And sometimes that's hard to do, because when you're in the moment, you see what you see. But then if you can step back, oh, there is a positive. Okay, so what is it? As you were saying, Lori K, about, what do I want? What do I feel? What does that look like? So thank you so much. And, I do agree with Bob that, it would be good to have those thoughts in book form, something tangible that we can pick up and read and look at when we need that physical part and not just the emotional part.
Thank you, Ellie.
Yay. Anybody else with a contribution?
You guys are epic. Thank you so much for all of your comments.
Yeah, I want to just mention to all of you what a wonderful community this is of seekers.
Yeah.
We respect each other. We share our various takes on what's going on, so all of us become so much wiser, and we share caring. This is such a wonderful family. We thank you, God, for enabling us to have this family where we can share our griefs, share our joys, share our questions, share our growth, support one another in the journey through this life. We thank you for the wisdom that you share with us, for the growth you enable us, and for the joy of being one with you. For all the good you shine down upon us, we say thank you. For all our health and the improvements in health, we say thank you. For this fellowship, we say thank you. We give you full gratitude for the good in our lives. We say thank you, thank you, thank you. And we all say, Amen.